Hello people of the internet, this is KaijuNoir here to acknowledge a very big moment in the channel's history. Recently, we've reached over 1,000 subscribers and are currently on our way to 1,500. Man, to think that when I started this channel back in 2012, I thought the most I would get for a nobody like me would be around 20 subs? Come to think of it, a lot has changed in the 5 years since. I graduated college, hosted a panel at G-Fest, moved to Japan, and even met several individuals who I now consider like brothers. And throughout all of the highlights, I found myself thinking that if it wasn't for you guys coming here to this little channel of mine and supporting my content, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. When I first created KaijuNoir, I figured at least a couple people would have found my opinions on monster movies somewhat entertaining. But over the years, this fanbase of mine has grown beyond my wildest dreams. To celebrate the channel's recent subscriber milestone and its 5th anniversary, I want to take the time to personally reflect on the history of my time here on YouTube and see how we got to where we are now. To start things off, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't inspired in some way by both the angry video game nerd and the nostalgia critic in the late 2000s. Being the forerunners of what I guess we can call the internet reviewer culture, these guys made critiquing media look fun and exciting. However, one of the most influential reviewers for me was Dan Wickwire's series, Kaiju Movie Review. He was perhaps the first Godzilla-based YouTuber I followed, and it was through him that I eventually discovered the presence of the Godzilla fanbase here on YouTube. At the same time, I was following another channel called Geekvolution and their flagship series, Superhero Rewind. While I was interested in one day critiquing films, I knew that I wasn't interested in the over-the-top, snarky, sketch-based style of the angry reviewers you'd find on Channel Awesome. However, after watching both KMR and Geekvolution, I knew that I found my calling and decided to approach reviews from a purely analytical perspective, with touches of humor thrown here and there. The next step was figuring out where to start. Once again, KMR came into play. Through Dan's initial video on Gehara, the dark and long-haired monster, I was able to discover the obscure world of indie kaiju cinema. Upon realizing that not many people were aware of these films, and what few reviews existed at the time weren't particularly satisfying to me, I decided to step up and bring awareness to these films during what I like to call the dark age of big-budgeted giant monster movies, spanning from 2006 to around 2013-2014. Looking back on these old reviews of mine, I can't help but cringe at how inexperienced I was. Hello people of the internet, this is KaijuNoir here with my first movie review. My voice sounded flat, several lines could have easily been re-recorded, and my editing was limited at the time to Windows Movie Maker. However, I noticed that around the 3rd or 4th review, I was beginning to hit my stride as I became more comfortable with making videos. Of course, no one is great at something right off the bat, and everyone is sure to change and grow over time as they gain experience along the way. While I admit I'm a little embarrassed at how these earlier videos came out, I am proud of the fact that the old me was proud of them at the time, since it helps me realize just how much I've grown as both a critic and an entertainer. Eventually, I began to cover Godzilla ripoffs in the hopes that reviewing more well-known giant monster flicks would help me gain more notoriety, after being one of the few people to cover the likes of Raiga, Gehara, and Daikaiju Eiga G. During both the indie reviews and Godzilla ripoff retrospectives, I decided to start my podcast style of unscripted movie reviewing through my theatrical movie reviews, which was actually inspired by the Spill Crew reviews from the now defunct website, Spill.com. By 2013, my theatrical movie reviews started becoming my go-to content to help fill in the gap between the scripted reviews, which I became a bit burned out on over time. Later in the year, I ended up joining the Sons of Sarazawa podcast, which now comprises of Bill Wurster, aka Zazubar, Dylan McCandless, aka Super DM64, and David Hernandez, aka Gorazard. This moment in time had a significant impact on my life, as I now see these hilarious yet insightful nutjobs as family to me, and have continued to influence me to this very day through our numerous misadventures and interactions. 2014 is what I like to call the podcast era of KaijuNoir, as I had taken a break from scripted reviews and started adding more variety to the channel with discussion-based reviews and the Shoewatch podcast. This was where my super robot mascot, Draco Azul, made his first appearance. By this time, Dylan became my head artist, until Jacob Baker, aka Atomic Stick Figure, a loyal ally of the SOS podcast and all-around great guy, became my new title card artist, while Dylan took care of the digital inking and coloring. In mid-2015, I returned to scripted movie reviews more motivated than ever, and decided to cover the special effects heavy films that Toho made during the 80s and 90s. I feel that these reviews have been my proudest achievement here on YouTube, as I felt that my critiquing skills allowed me to get as in-depth as possible in covering every aspect about the films themselves while making them both entertaining and informative. Along the way, the Shoewatch podcast slowly turned into an off-the-cuff interview show as I invited experienced artists and writers to promote their upcoming projects. I also brought back an old podcast I had abandoned, Kaiju's Corner, and used it to do what I previously did with the old Shoewatch format, which involved discussions revolved around the ongoings in media and pop culture, this time with fellow YouTuber Deadpoolzilla. Lastly, I had acquired the help of my good friend Inshoma, who you may know as the title card artist behind many of Brandon Tenold's cult movie reviews, to become my new colorist, resulting in some of my favorite art showcased on the channel. Once we head into 2016, a huge change took place in my life, where I found myself in the land of the rising sun. While growing accustomed to this new setting, I try to keep a relatively even flow of content on the channel, while adding a little bit of variety with videos both scripted and unscripted. It was also here where I started dedicating videos to my love for giant robots, especially in the case of my top 15 favorite giant robots, edited by Andrew Battaglia of Sapphire Knight Productions, and my History of Gundam video, which was edited by David, which has since become my most popular video on the channel. Finally, one more individual was added to my quote-unquote staff, that being Brayton Connor, who became my main editor after I saw his hilarious and touching fan tributes to the SOS podcast. Thanks to him, the visuals of my latest scripted videos have become leagues greater than anything I could do. And here we are today, half a decade later, and with over 1,000 subscribers and counting. Words cannot describe how amazing this trip has been, and how much I appreciate every single one of you who have followed me on this journey. While I do regret not putting out the videos you guys want in a more timely manner, I'm happy you've been enjoying the end products. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for what you have done, and a big thanks to my staff for your dedication and immeasurable talents. A great thanks to my collaborators for all the great times we've had, and especially a huge thanks to Crooked Lore Productions, my latest contributor to the channel, which, as you could see, was the reason this video's presentation style was possible. Be sure to check out his channel of the same name, where you can watch his web series featuring two wacky characters discussing various forms of entertainment in a setting where anime and Tim Burton's art styles collide. In the meantime, I hope you're ready for what's to come, as KaijuNoir Productions has a lot in store for the future. Until next time, everybody, take care.